Did you know that the Lake of the Ozark boasts over 1,150 miles of shoreline, more than the state of California? Now, you can't swim in it anymore thanks to an incredible amount of low self-esteem cigar boats and a lack of accessible restrooms. So, make sure you come to St. Louis and check out explorestl.com to book your stay, buy some concert tickets, find new restaurants, and not contract an inoperable disease. Just kidding, Marty Bird. On today's episode, we had former SLSG alum, CBC cadet, Badger, Dynamo, and USL workhorse, AJ Cochran. Keep the kids in the car for this one as he talks about his path and how important it is to do your homework on where you would fit before you decide to just chase a school name. Special thanks goes out to Jason Glover for the inaugural phoned-in Pinnacle Point of the Day. Now, go get yourself some orange slices. Let's go.
It's that time.
Yeah. Is this Brian Adams? I got one, and I didn't
He's
look.
one of my favorite Canadians.
Yeah?
Really? Why?
Why? Listen to him. So silky smooth. Oh, you like this? Come on.
It's mediocre at best.
You were like 5 to 7 years old when this stuff was hot. You were trying to like hook up with your mom's friends. Little Jared Bear.
Yeah.
You singing Everything I Do for You.
I was listening to NWA at 5 to 7 years old.
I'm sure you were. Weren't you that kid that was on the album cover?
No, he was on the cover of the Nirvana album.
Yeah. I can't swim.
But well, you didn't sue them, so that wasn't you.
That's true, yeah.
We're back, another episode, Soccer Dad Pod, rolling in with, as you all now know, Brian Adams. Cuts like a knife. Here we go. Right. I mean, it just feels good. Kind of makes you want to drink beer, which is ironic because we're up here at Maggie O'Brien's recording today, drinking beer skis. Quick update. Let's spray the infield with our feedback. Jared, what are you drinking?
You know, I finally did it. I'm doing the Maggie's Red Ale, and it's made, I just found out something new today. It's made by Perennial, which is a delicious brewery. Long-winded answer, but I'm going Maggie's Red Ale.
That was a long-winded answer, but I like it. What are you drinking?
Gin and soda.
Yeah, it doesn't look like beer.
Nope, not beer. Not yet.
At least
I'm
it's
going Red Ale next, though, for sure.
Is it kind of like a holdover from dry January? Like,
No, I just... You were doing tequila and soda there for a while, and...
Well, because I had low self-esteem for a little while, so I was like, need something.
Mandy's okay with you drinking again?
But we should text her. And I've got a... what am I drinking, by the way?
I think you're going
Golden Light. Yeah. I asked the bartender for something cold and yellow, and she's like, I got it. This is what she brought me. It's fine.
You're plain Jane, dude.
I don't care anymore. Like, my flavor palette is focuses more on the culinary side, food, salt, spices, etc. So, we're down here at Maggie O'Brien's, getting ready to go off here again. Today's gonna be fun. Got a couple things rolling down the pipe. I want to get some thank yous out of the way real quick. Explore St. Louis. You guys, we really appreciate all the support. And I want to point out a couple things coming up here. People Magazine just came out and they listed all the summer festivals of 2024 that you need to check out. And our own Music at the Intersection, put together, hosted, ran by the Kransberg Art Foundation and a number of other organizations. Music at the Intersection was listed as one of the festivals to see by People Magazine. It is going to be September 14th, 15th, Grand Center. Check this out, Jared. Some of the headliners are Black Pumas, Chaka Khan, Trombone Shorty, Big Boy. It's more of a funk-style fest. So that's coming down the pipe. The other festival, which you hit me up on, their lineup bounced this week, Evolution Festival, September 28th, 29th.
Been
Some of
caught
the names
stealing?
there.
Been caught stealing once when I was 5.
Yep. Jane's Addiction,
Oh,
Killers,
would love
Beck,
to see them.
Blondie, Killer Mike, Todd Rundgren, and STL's own Sunbolt. And a whole bunch more. So explore STL. Go to exploreSTL.com, get your hotel and everything ready, and go buy tickets to these festivals because they're going to kill it. Guess who's back on board with us?
Is it plumbing?
It is. Crescent Plumbing Supply, they're coming back. And the reason is
Welcome back.
they know that the majority of our listeners, and frankly, the numbers prove it out, 72% of them are men.
And 100% of them use plumbing.
All of them use plumbing, sometimes indoors. And they got a showroom down on 9900 block of Clayton Road, Kohler Showroom, which is Crescent Plumbing Supply. Go check it out. Go in with your significant other and pick fun stuff. They're going to keep you on budget. It's just worth it. Fix it because your kids are just going to mess your shit up even more and more. So thank you, Crescent Plumbing Supply, for jumping back on. Look forward to working with you guys. And our buddies over on the hill. Just a little, it's not even a pitching wedge. It's like a Nerf pitching wedge from Milo's Beer Garden across the street. Pinnacle Loans, thepinnacleloans.com. Chris, Bill, Pete, crew. Appreciate all the support. I want to go ahead and get the Pinnacle points of the day rolling. You guys both look excited.
I got a good one today.
Jared's got a good one. I want to go first because yours is way better than what mine is likely to be.
Well,
So,
probably. That's normal.
No, it's not normal. Paul Pogba. Did you guys read about him?
The,
Is that the French
yep.
striker?
French striker, 4-year ban for substance abuse
What? When that come out?
today. So he is
What
saying
is the substance? Can you? I don't even know.
performance enhancing is what they said.
Performance.
So
enhancing.
PE, what do they call it? PED, performance enhancing drug. I don't know if they announced what the drug was, but he has been found guilty of abusing that and using it in his career, and he has a 4-year football ban. And he has written a statement basically saying, once this legal stuff is over, I'll tell you what actually happened. And he's like, he's very upset. And I'm not giving credence to one side or the other. What I'm going to say is when these things happen, whether it's a drug issue or an abuse issue or an assault issue, we tend to get really quick on making a decision.
Yep, a judgment.
To cover the organization, which I completely understand. I just wish there was a way we could figure these things out without it automatically presuming guilt. And then
Well, but hold on. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. They gave him 4-year ban. So my guess it wasn't poppy seeds on a bagel.
No, I'm with you. I'm not saying that. Again, I'm not a Paul Pogba apologist.
You can't even say his name right. I think you're saying it right. Go ahead.
Okay.
Pretty close. P squared.
Yes. So I don't know. It's just a topic that I think is interesting. When things happen, we quick judgment, quick guilt or innocence, and then we try to figure it out how to spin it and make it not so bad for the organizations. And I think I'm not sure who. I don't even know who he's playing for right now.
Well, nobody for 4 years.
Well, my question to that is, and this is a soccer pod, so I should maybe know some answers to these questions. Is FIFA imposing the ban? Is it just from European football? Like, can he just come over here and play in the USL, or can he go to TST in June? Can he play in the MLS? I mean, who's imposing this ban?
I'm fairly confident it is FIFA.
Okay, so does
He was at Juve, right?
I believe so.
and I would just go play somewhere else and not Europe.
I don't
Jared-
think he can.
Jared, since you were not using performance-enhancing drugs today, you get to go second. What's your pinnacle point?
I did have a stiff neck.
That's not from PEDs.
All right, so here's where I'm going with this. Interesting because I'm on the history side of things now. This is really relevant to our show. Zach, you know what happened 25 years ago this week?
1999.
I mean,
No.
So 25 years ago this week, 133 pounds of TNT
Which is a lot.
Oh.
blew up the Checker Dome.
Yep.
And I also want to parlay into that. We could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is interesting because I did a little bit of research. The Checker Dome was erected in 1929 to be a livestock hall. I didn't know that. Did you?
I didn't know that.
So 25 years ago today, for our show and all the Steamers legends we have, and I'm going to parlay it into, go to our socials. On X is the one I use, at SoccerDadPod. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram, all the things.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. Today, it was announced a night with the Steamers on April 5th. From 6 to 8, you can buy some tickets. You come down there, and we're hosting a night with the Steamers with interesting 25 years ago to this week. Checker Dome's blown up. These guys all played in it. We're going to have guys like Don Ebert, Carl Rose.
Well, just real quick, Don Ebert, he's zooming in.
Okay.
He's the only one zooming. The rest you're about to name in person.
Carl Rose, Sam Bick, Jeff Cacciatore, Larry Hulser, Ty Keogh, Denny Vanager, Daryl Duran, and Mr. Steve Petcher. So Soccer Park is gracious to host us. And JB, fill us in with some more details that I'm missing.
Yeah, so SLSG, obviously with Petch's role and responsibilities over there, ended up being the landing spot for the event. And in order to keep it on the up and above the board, what we're going to do is all the ticket revenue and everything, money raised there, it's all going to the Living Legacy Foundation at the club, which is the fund that helps financially needy families and more play soccer. So we're going to raise money for kids.
And several
and families.
guests that we've had on the show are either descendants of folks who are have a tribute in Living Legacy or family members.
And Mr. Glover, his club, the Steamers, will also be involved. Can you tell the folks where to go to buy these tickets?
You got to go to the SLSG website. They got an event page. They got a link to the event. Click on it. Google Docs. Sign up because these tickets are going to go fast. So if they're already gone by the time you hear this, sorry. I would say we told you so, but this is the first time you're hearing about it. So
we're telling you so now.
It's kind of retroactive. So I got a little pinnacle point of the day. I'm going to go over to the U.S. women's national team side because the female version of Alexi Lalas, Carly Lloyd, came out today. And basically the simplicity of her quote was, no one fears the U.S. women's national team anymore. And this is after the 2-0 loss to Mexico. 2-0, I believe. Yeah,
Mexico beat our women's team 2-0.
Yeah. And
that's awful.
And it's one of those things, we've been talking for a while. And over on Soccer Mom Sunday with Jen and crew, this came up often. Kind of the state of that team out of the gate. They were horses. They were the athletes. They beat everybody because they were just better athletes, and the rest of the world caught up really, really fast. And here we are, and they're not on a good run. She calls it out, and Twitter or X. What do you call it anymore, Jared? Are you?
I call it Twitter still.
Yeah, so do I. I'm not giving. Yep. Elon's rich enough. I'm not giving him X too.
Yeah, it's Twitter. It'll always be Twitter.
They all lost their mind.
It's like Riverport.
Oh, absolutely.
Still Riverport.
It's Riverport forever.
Yeah, when I die, in my will, it says a little portion of my ashes spread at Riverport.
Is it still a TWA dome?
No, we can't go there. I call Enterprise Checker Dome. So this is not even the same address.
No, but I think on that point, really quickly, I do think it's good for the game in general for other teams to emerge. I mean, we've done so well for so long, we're a little spoiled.
Americans don't like not being non-dominant.
No, we don't. And we were proud of the women because the men were not. So we took advantage of that.
Or were we just proud of them because they were dominant?
I think we were both. But now that they're not dominant, it's easy to throw a bunch of shade on things when it's in reality, like you said, JB, other folks have caught up. So it's not like our team has gone down in quality. I don't think. I think others have just caught up.
Yeah, no. I mean, I that's exactly it. They were in the ocean all by themselves with a 250 horsepower motor. Well, guess what? They're bigger boats with bigger motors at
Well,
this
and
point.
we trained most of those girls too. I would imagine a lot of those girls from the other international squads have come over here, played college ball, trained over here.
Part
et
of
cetera.
them, but it goes back to what we debate on the men's side all the time, and that is just cultural structure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, institutions from take Germany for example, where you have these small communities that have extremely efficient youth programs that are pipelines. Yeah. There is no fractured nature. We have fractured nature.
Agreed.
So anyway, here's the other thing, everybody listening. Pinnacle Points of the Day has become one of the, I don't know, would you say most popular parts, other than our dipshittery? Is that a word?
It is now.
Shithousery?
I think you recorded it. And
most of the reviews
claim
I've read like my Pinnacle Points specifically.
I'm pretty sure they don't. You can't write all your own reviews either.
I think he filtered for his name.
Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. This was actually a suggestion that came in through...
Bill Luby.
Yes.
No, Jim Hart. Jim Hart down in
that's
Tampa.
right. That's right. To get outsiders to provide us Pinnacle Points. Well, I got one.
Yay.
Friend of the show, 2-time guest. I asked him. I told him the idea, and he's like, dude, I love it. Hold on. He goes, I got you. Well, let me introduce to you our first phone-in Pinnacle Point of the Day from, here, you'll know who this is. Here we go.
The boys at Soccer Dad Podcast. This
Glover.
is Jason Glover. My Pinnacle Point of the Day is, call me old-fashioned, but do you remember when parents used to bring oranges to the games
Everybody
for
loves
halftime? Do you remember that feeling coming off the field and going over to the sideline, dipping your hand into that ice-cold igloo cooler,
This is my
probably
favorite
your
part.
dad's fishing cooler, stacked with oranges, cut in quarters, and you would just dig into the orange while the coach was saying something. Can we get back to those days where soccer was fun and enjoyable and it was about the kids?
And there you have it. Pinnacle Point number 1, dial in, Jason Glover.
Well done.
Thoughts? What do
Well
you
done,
think?
Mr. Glover. First of all, thanks for submitting that, and thanks to Jim Hart for the idea. I think that's a nice addition.
And I think most of the people listening to this, driving around their car right now, waiting for their kid to lose their ball at Gallagher or whatever they're doing, and the masses are sitting there shaking their head. Yep. Let's bring back the oranges.
Yeah, I love it. I love that memory, and I love that simplistic side of things.
Well, and there's a scientific side to this
Yeah.
too, because you know how it's like you envision the cooler and the bag and the kids' hands, and everybody's dirty putting it in there.
I like Sour Patch Kids.
Nobody.
You didn't have
What was
Sour
that, a
Patch Kids
Wentzville
when you were
thing?
kids.
No, but
Sour
now,
Patch
now
Kids.
everything evolves. I'd go Sour Patch Kids.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. You're augmenting Jason's idea and saying, well, let's modernize it by just giving them high fructose corn syrup
Yeah,
wrapped in
yeah.
salt and sugar. Got
Yeah,
it.
let's not give them vitamin C from the earth. Let's give them Willy Wonka's Sour Patch.
No, I love that idea, and I hope we get more submissions for these Pinnacle Points because I like commenting on them.
Yeah, there you go. So you heard us. Drop a little voice memo in there. Keep it sub 60 seconds. We would appreciate that because most of us and our listeners really don't have an attention span. So the shorter, the better, and we'll put them out there. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get some refills. We're down here at Maggie O'Brien's. We're going to bring on our guest, and we're going to ask if he ate a whole bunch of orange slices as a kid, too, which I'm fairly certain he did based on his size. We'll be right back.
This wouldn't be the first time things have gone astray. You're thrown in.
Hey everyone, buying a home, it's kind of a big deal. Never has there been more competition to buy, so few homes to choose from, all made worse by an uncertain interest rate landscape. Now that you're short a bedroom for the third kid, you're in the wrong school district, and a walkable corner pub isn't nearly close enough, it's time to reach out to the Pinnacle Loan Team for help. They work with a network of agents that have their feet on the ground across the whole region and have a number of loan products that are cost-effective with a process that is simple. Basically, they've got you covered from start to finish. So when it's time to buy, visit thepinnacleloans.com. That's thepinnacleloans.com. Simply the best in home loans.
A lot of noises.
Noises. We're back. All right.
This is Beck.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I should have. It's not bad. You know this one, Jared. You used to be cool. Your son used to play this for you in the car.
I don't know this one.
21 Pilots. Come on, guys. Keep it.
21 Pilots?
Yes.
Wow, it would have taken me a long time to realize that one.
Why?
It doesn't sound like a lot of those. Now it does.
now it sounds like
it
it.
does, yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, man, I mean, this kind of ages me, dates me, whatever you want to say. Like, my kids grew up loving these guys.
Yeah.
And when they came to town, they had a show over at Enterprise, and we had a buddy that was like, hey, I get you tickets, you want to go? And I'm like, whatever, right?
They rocked.
I was completely blown away.
That's awesome.
I ate all my pride and was like, okay, I'm 21. Now, I didn't buy the $70 t-shirt. I can't go that far.
Well, did everything you knew about them at the time was the show that they played repeatedly on the radio?
Well, no.
Or
I mean,
the
not
song. I said the show, the song.
all of them were, because I didn't put two and two together. Like, they had fucking 6 hits at the time out.
Okay.
So anyway, that's my 21 Pilots story. We're back. We got our guest here with us down here, Maggie O'Brien's. Time to talk a little St. Louis soccer and more.
I'm excited.
Gotta talk about Mardi Gras too, don't we?
Well, yeah, because the connection to our guest came from Mardi Gras. So thank you, Tyler, and thank you to Leroy and Alan and John and Ann. Yeah, so John and Ann are the parents of our guest, and they're good friends with some folks in Soulard, including my brother. And so I got introduced to the AJ Cochran, Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten in 2012. So AJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
man.
me.
Appreciate you coming to join us. You got to be super stoked right now, because you're like, what else could I be doing on a Thursday?
Having a beer, Maggie. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. So
Right? I'm here for the beer. Sweet. How things going, man? Because you're fresh off the game a little bit here. Kind of next chapter.
yeah,
Scale of 1 to 10. How you doing right now overall?
I'd say I'm doing an 8.
That's awesome.
An 8, yeah, doing pretty well. Pretty well.
Dude, you had a 10-plus year professional career.
Yeah.
And that's not normal. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have played professionally in and out a couple years, but you had a pretty substantial career across the U.S., and we'll get into some of that. But, one of our big fans of the show and one of our favorite guests of all time is the Terry Mickler. And I think you might have a little relationship with Coach Mickler.
Oh yeah.
So can we kind of start maybe back there and how you kind of got into St. Louis soccer, but then got into CBC, because I believe Gallagher was in the mix as well, which
For sure.
kind of
We've heard of them too.
we've heard of them.
Yeah, so I started, my first select team ever was Busch for when I was 8 and 9. Played for a guy by the name of Roger Shalom, who's now unfortunately passed away, but he was a great guy. And then from there, transitioned to Gallagher. And had some great coaches when I was younger, Tom Malley, Tom Donovan, and then transferred to Tom Howe. And that's really where my soccer career started, I would say. Was with the training with him, Kevin Kalish, Kip Thompson, Lou English.
Yep. Was there the guy by the last name of Dorsey in that mix?
Mark Dorsey.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, so those were my Gallagher coaches. So I was very blessed to have them. And that's kind of where, it went from a hobby, to more of hey, there might be a future in this. Because Tom Howe was known for producing professionals.
Right.
Before the academy, before all that, if, Gallagher and Tom Howe probably produced more professionals year in and year out than maybe any other trainer in the country, in my opinion, and
I think it's valid.
Well, I was just bumped into the other night out at Creve Coeur, Mr. Brad Davis.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about exactly that, about exactly him. Mm-hmm. And you guys just said basically verbatim the same thing.
yeah.
When you were, let's get a quick lay of the land too. Siblings? You have any siblings?
Yep, I got an older sister who's 2 years older than me and was a phenomenal athlete who pushed me. She was a gymnast.
And
So
where'd you grow up? Which?
I grew up in Baldwin.
Okay.
St. Clair of Assisi Parish, right there, like Kersmill and
West
Clayton.
County.
Oh yeah.
Oh, man. You didn't just do
No, I
that, did you?
I didn't do this. I didn't do a sign or anything.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
This is a yes, you did. I saw it.
Yeah, I
maybe
saw
I
that
did a
on a
little bit.
Disney show once.
We don't get a lot. I'm sorry. I got to take them when I can.
So okay. So you're a Baldwin kid. You're growing up. You're in the club game. You've got the coaches. Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
Across the board. You're entering into your high school years. Was it always going to be CBC, or were you looking at other high schools? Was public in the mix, or was it just the private route?
Yeah, I think it was the private route just because of the soccer, basically, is what I'd say. My dad went to Vianney, so I visited Vianney. Where else? So, like, my three choices were CBC, Vianney second, and then Whitfield third.
Okay.
So
Bill Dawes, right? Bill Dawes was
Yep.
the longtime coach
Yep,
at
he
Whitfield.
was.
And
Yes, he
I think he
was.
coached my dad, and I think that's kind of why
I think he coached Jay Alberts too, who went to Yale from my era. So Bill Dawes was the coach there. You're right.
Also a legendary St. Louis coach.
Yeah.
So was your when you made the decision? I mean, because we all know how this goes in town. You know, when you have a lineage, and the patriarch or the matriarch goes to said school, and their offspring goes to the wrong school, in their opinion. How did that go? Griffin about to pay tuition for cadet.
It went all right. And the reason why it went all right was because two of my dad's younger brothers went to CBC. And then I had two cousins that were there at the time. So it was okay. If it wasn't Vianney, CBC, my dad was happy with it. And
So, well, let's talk about that intro to CBC, because you're talking about in those days, the teams were rolling, still very, very powerful, very, very good. Did you know, like at the time, like what you wanted, and going into an extremely competitive environment with a coach like Coach Mickler? Were you already looking not through and or past CBC, but did you see it as a tremendous opportunity for the next step?
exactly, I saw it as a tremendous opportunity for the next step. I was definitely not looking through it because I knew at that time I was only in 8th grade, right? Like my heroes at that moment were playing high school soccer or just got out of high school soccer.
Right.
So growing up, I'm watching Will Bruin. I'm watching, Tommy Meyer. I'm watching Tim Ream playing at the soccer park in front of 5,000-6,000 people, or going to, a Chaminade afternoon high school game with the barbecues going and the fan sections. And those were like, didn't even think about college or pro. It was just get to CBC and try to make varsity.
We have a theme on this show about high school and about club, which I want to point out, in your era, you were one of the fortunate guys to be able to do both at a high level. It was kind of that beginning of that academy age group when Scott Gallagher, where you played at, was Missouri, Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
You were on the
Oh,
Missouri
yeah.
side. Can you talk about the battles on that side? Because a fan favorite guest of ours, Sam Fink, he was on the Illinois side, and I know you guys met up later on in life. We'll get to that. Can you talk about those battles a little bit between Missouri and Illinois, and what that meant as well?
Yeah, it was a rivalry from the minute it started. It was a great. The reason why I think it was a big rivalry is growing up, you played against all those kids.
Yes, you did.
So once it got to the academy and the development academy started, and it was Gallagher St. Louis side versus what was it? It was Metro Illinois side.
Metro, yep.
Yeah,
Metro,
it was
okay. And the rivalry just blossomed naturally. It was going across the river, and
We're getting refills real quick.
yeah,
Go
good
ahead.
refill. You're good.
Oh, what would you
I'll
like?
take a gold light, please.
There you
Draft,
go.
please.
There we go. That's nice.
See,
I'll do,
there we
I'll
go.
do red ale.
You said, sorry for
No, you're
taking making beer a priority there for a second, but you know what's going. When the clubs are going toe to toe, and I'm kind of add on to what Jared was talking about. There was another layer of that rivalry, and you were one of the last groups that were able to benefit from it, and that is the high school rivalry as well. So, talk a bit about, or compare and contrast for our listeners, kind of the difference between that club rivalry, between East and West, and then when you got into the fall, you're playing for your crest, so to speak.
Yeah.
Talk about the difference in that rivalry between SLU and DeSmet and Chaminade and Vianney, right?
Yeah.
What was the difference in your experience between those two types of rivalries?
That's a great question. And what I can say is the high school rivalries was a lot greater, and from my experience. And the reason why I would say that is, and I'm not saying that the Gallagher and Metro rivalry wasn't there, because it was there, but the high school was on another level in terms of us versus SLU, DeSmet, Chaminade, the MCC schools mainly.
Right.
And I think, probably a huge factor of that is there was more eyes on you. And just the history of the high school soccer, there was obviously alumni for Gallagher and Metro, but like the CBC alumni soccer base is absolutely enormous, just like SLU, just like Vianney, just like DeSmet. So when you're playing in the MCC tournament, playing in front of a couple thousand people, if you lose and you go into school, it's
There's a lot of crow to eat.
man, there's guys looking at you like, what are you doing, right? Like you see those guys at a party that weekend, and they're talking, and
Well, I think that people don't even realize it like we do, because we're from St. Louis. Our listeners, a lot of them are from St. Louis. This is like high school football in Texas. I mean,
100%.
I mean, you're playing at Soccer Park in the state final against against SLU. Let's call it your junior year.
Yep.
There's 6,000 people at the game.
Yep.
6,000 people watching a high school soccer game.
One of my favorite games I've ever played in my life.
I mean,
in my life.
I mean, those games through the years played out there, it's just phenomenal.
Well, let's keep going down this road, because I'm really interested in your take, because you also spent your career at a time where that shift was occurring in real time.
I think there was 2 years after me, and then it was done in terms of select and high school. So I think 2 years after me, kid by the name of Austin Ledbetter, who also a St. Louis guy, I think he was the last. His class was the last class to be able to do both.
Okay.
So as a player then, in college and even into your pro career, when you were looking back in real time, did it sting a little bit when you did see the elevation of academy, the lasering out of the option? Did it bother you a little bit, or did you see it as the next step, or just natural change?
It's a good question. Also, I felt sorry for the guys that weren't going to be able to experience the experiences that I got to playing high school soccer, but I also knew that next step for academy was the future, and that was where I'm not saying that if it stayed the exact same that it wouldn't, we still wouldn't be producing the players that we are now. I'm not saying that, but I think the academy was the natural transition. And as soccer continued to grow in our country, and the more professional teams, the better in the environments, the more money, it was the natural progression. Now, to answer your question, I do feel sorry for the guys that didn't get to experience high school soccer like I got to, because it was some of my best memories ever.
I'm with you.
Ever. So that, that I do feel sorry for them.
So I'm going to keep going here because I love this subject. Today, when you look at the landscape and you look at these kids and you look at the talent, and then you think back to your experience and you think about the alum ahead of you, that you grew up idolizing, and you knew them personally because you were in rarefied air from a standpoint of you excelled at a very, very high level. So you were constantly in a circle that put you around some of the best ever. And when you look back at these individuals, and how many times have we had this conversation on this show, guys, where we ask this conceptual it question, how do you define it, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's always this kind of spine of competitive nature, right? The will to win, competitiveness. Going back to high school and club and today's environment and what you experienced, but now to a degree doesn't exist the way that it did. Do you see an overemphasis on player development over competition, over rivalry, and do you see that as a potential detriment in the overall well-roundedness of a player?
I would say yes and no. The only reason why I say, no is because I think that once you get to a certain age that kid has to have that in him. Once you hit a certain age, he has to have that fire, that competitiveness, that it shouldn't take, a rivalry match for him to go out onto that field. It should naturally happen in every day in training.
Yeah.
It should happen, if you're playing 6-a-side, it should be like, I never want to lose.
Or checkers.
Or checkers,
Yeah.
anything, anything. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
literally anything. So, I do, it's also, I'm going to keep saying this, but it's also a great question. I think it's important. If I had to go by steps, I think like up until like 13, 14 years old, like have fun, get the fundamentals down, enjoy the game. Once you start getting to like that 15, 16, 17, 18, like you really need to start to find that competitiveness, and if it's something that you really want to do. And I think over those 4 years, like it will tell you a lot about yourself as a player, whether you have that edge and that competitiveness and how far you want to take it and how competitive you are. So, it's hard. I guess you have to find the right coach too. Because if you have the right coach that's pushing that competitiveness, he can instill that in players. And coaching is, so incredibly important. If you get a coach that isn't, super competitive, maybe, it could be hard, right? Some coaches would maybe punish a player for getting upset in training.
Yeah.
If his team loses and kind of like, blows up a little bit, he might be like, hey, relax. But just kind of, I guess it depends.
So we name dropped earlier, from Terry Howe and all your club coaches to Terry Mickler
Right.
on the high school side. Name drop a little bit. Which one of those, in hindsight, when it came to competitive nature, if you had to pick one of the coaches exclusively based upon not development, but their drive to win, who would you pick?
Terry Mickler. And I am so grateful that I had both of
That's
them
high
because
praise for the coaches you've had. Wow.
Because Tom Howe, well, out of those two, Tom Howe is the best trainer that I've ever had in the game, period. In terms of development, okay? He was really the only, even the national team coaches that I had for 18s and 20s and 23s, he was the best trainer that I ever had. Was he competitive? Yeah, but he was so hard on you details that it wasn't so much about winning games. If we would lose a game 1-0 and our team played great, he was really happy with us. Terry Mickler was not like that.
That was
like
the Gallagher way back in the day.
Absolutely, 100%. Terry Mickler was, we're winning this game 5-4. We're making 3 or 4 passes and we're getting a shot on goal. So, and I got thankfully I got both of them.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to develop under Tom Howe, get into high school, and then
It's interesting because in our world of academy versus high school, what you just explained, you benefited from having a piece of both worlds.
so true.
That's so interesting to me, and it's almost a disservice to the kids today of the decisions that they're in. Moving on past the high school academy days, you land up in
Dave.
Madison.
That's a great point. That's a great point, what you said, though, because if I never had Terry Mickler, that side of the game, maybe I wouldn't have seen for
And you also wouldn't have played in front of 6,000 at soccer parks against all your buddies that you played club with.
100%.
Which, by the way, who won that game?
We did 1-0.
CBC.
There we
Yeah,
go.
1-0
I
was-
see that little grin.
It was
So-
great. But I don't know if they beat us they might have beat us the next year. I don't think they won state
Nobody
the next year.
cares.
Yeah, that's true.
You guys won.
That's true. We did
In the game that we're talking about.
Yeah, we did
You
win.
go right into a program like Wisconsin in the Big Ten, and you have a lot of success there. Talk about coaching. You had another damn good coach in Wisconsin.
John Trask.
Yeah, John Trask. So,
Keith Tiemeyer, St. Louis Vianney guy, was the assistant coach there as well.
wow. So, talk about how you ended up at Wisconsin, and JB likes to find this out. When we talk to guys that went through the game, your dad, soccer guy, went to Maryville, I believe. What did it mean to your family to get that call to go to Wisconsin? I mean, is that campus one of the best campuses in the country?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long I got here, but I'll try to make this as quick as possible. So
Yeah,
when I was
plenty of
going through the college recruitment process, was Mike Roach there at the time? Mike Roach went to Indiana, but I think Mike Roach transferred to UIC with Kevin Stoll. Okay. So I knew Kevin Stoll growing up, and John Trask was a coach at UIC, and they just made the Elite Eight. So when I was doing my visits, I went up to Illinois, Chicago. John Trask was there. Loved John, but I didn't know about UIC. Well, I get a phone call a month later, and I wanted to go to a big school.
Yep.
Okay, I wanted to go to a big school, 40,000 people, party school, college football. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So once he went to Wisconsin, I didn't know anything about Wisconsin, but my sister was a gymnast up at UW La Crosse, which is a Division III school up there. And she's like, you got to go check it out. And I visited SMU, I visited SLU, visited SIUE, all like the ones that were close to me at the time. But thankfully, I had a lot of opportunities. But I went to Wisconsin. I drove down there. I saw the campus sitting between two lakes. And within the first hour of meeting Trask, I was like, I'm coming here. I don't even need to go on any more visits. It's that beautiful.
Did you go to a football game?
Stunning, yes.
On your okay, that was
Well,
probably
Not on my visit. Not on my visit. I didn't go to a football game on my visit. But campus enough.
That was really going to be one of my questions because when we look at kind of the let's go 20 to 25, maybe even 30 years back, and if we take kind of a roll call of St. Louis players and their pathway when it comes to the college, the D1 players, IU, SLU, Missouri State. There are certain schools that are kind of like, to a degree, like St. Louis Part 2, because they took so many kids. Wisconsin is not one of those schools that was on where St. Louis kids were there. Were you aware of that? I mean, was there like growing up knowing that a lot of your idols did go, they were Hoosiers. You wanted a big school. IU was a big school. Obviously SLU in the backyard, but it sounded like you wanted to go away and experience something more. Where did Wisconsin come into, that part of the equation?
So I initially wanted to go to SLU. It was Dan Donegan and Mike Beck. Took my visit. I would have committed to SLU.
Thank you.
That year, I think it was my junior year when I could make a decision. They went to Rutgers, and Mike McGinty came in. Okay, so from there, I had to change my thought process a little bit. And you guys asked me earlier about looking through high school to get to college and pro. It wasn't like that, but for college, it was. And the only reason why is because John Trask had connections with the U.S. youth national teams, and he got me into my first national team camp. And I knew from what Tommy Meyer, Will Bruin, anyone that was a St. Louis guy, Brad Davis that played for the youth national teams growing up, they were likely to go pro. Pro path. So John Trask got me an opportunity. Thank you, John, for my first national team trip. And that sealed the deal to go to Wisconsin. And from there it was, and I also, if I got a second, because I think this is so important if there's young people, young players listening out there and their dads, is I battled with, hey, I want to go to a North Carolina. I want to go to an Indiana. I want to go to a Wake Forest, like these UCLA, where it's the top, schools in the country, because I wanted to be able to walk back into CBC and say, hey, look, I just committed to UCLA. I'm so happy I didn't. And the reason why is because I got to go to a school where I knew I was going to be competitive as a freshman and play. Yep. Okay, so for
that goes for divisions too, not only Division I.
All across.
Go
somewhere where you think you have an opportunity to play and you have a good relationship with the coach. If Wisconsin are, at the time, I think Duke had a sophomore starting center back, a junior, center back, or a senior starting center back, and a sophomore that got. Why would I go there? Then I got to compete. I'm not saying that I'm scared of the competition, but I mean, geez,
the hurdles are there.
The hurdles are there. So try to choose a path that you think, playing wise, coaching wise, because I mean, there's players that go Division II, Division III that are unbelievable pros, and so I think that's so important for when they're thinking, when kids and their parents are thinking about where to go to college, is sacrifice that I'm going here because it's a big name school. Really look into your path of where you're going to play, the coaching, obviously the education, and try to make a decision off of
so
that.
I'm going to follow up on that. How important, and again, continue to speak to the kids, because the kids are going to be listening to this one. Speak to doing the homework, because you mentioned, like you thought that Duke at the time had a sophomore starting center back and a senior or a junior or whatever. You knew you were a center back, right? Mm-hmm. You knew your position. How important is it to look at more than the address, or their trophy case when it comes to evaluating what's a good fit for you?
Right. I think it's incredibly important. I mean, if anyone that watches, American football, when you're watching the games ahead of the games and you're hearing these guys list off colleges, half of them now I'm like, well, I don't even know where that is. Yeah. And I think it can translate to soccer as well, where these guys took a different path. Do your research. Wisconsin was 4-11 or 4-12 the year before I got there. Now, they did have 11 or 12 freshmen that they just brought in, but I don't think any of them were center backs. They had a senior center back, okay, Arnie, who was an incredible guy, Colin Manny, who was an incredible guy, and then they had a junior, Kyle McCredden. But I knew that if I wasn't going to play a lot my freshman year, that I had an unbelievable opportunity to start my sophomore year.
Yeah.
So I did that research. I knew John Trask loved me. Keith Teameyer was a St. Louis guy, had a good relationship with my dad. Boom, go.
All Big 12 freshman team, mind you. Well, all Big 10. All Big 10 freshman team. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
I know we'll get into more the pro side coming up after the break here in a second. But I love your articulation of the decision process.
Yeah.
Because we talk to coaches. I mean, we're sitting here. We've got the head coach of Michigan State and the head coach of SIUE over our shoulders right now. And we've heard from them on how they choose and how they determine how they're going to pick their team. But hearing your story really illustrates the importance, like you said, JB, of doing your research, doing your homework, and looking for schools that fit your personality and your goals.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. And so that's a recurring message and a recurring theme. So I thank you for that. I know we're about to tap out for another break here really quickly, but I just, no question, AJ, just I love the fact that you are willing to kind of share that side of the story, because it's obviously very important to you.
For sure.
And with your journeyman approach to the pro career, I think it's critical for the kids that are out there thinking about that right now.
I can't wait to get into that, because I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
From being a St. Louis soccer player going into this break and then following the successful kids that came behind me and all those names you mentioned, I remember reading Internet, Soccer America back in the day. I have a question that I can't wait to get the answer to when we come back.
Is it a long question or a short question?
It's probably a little bit of both. There's a little bit of setup.
Is it shorter than 3 minutes, 30 seconds? Because that's a song.
It's definitely shorter than that.
No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna come back right after the break. AJ, really appreciate your time, man. We're gonna spray the infield with
Absolutely.
some more
We're going to get some refills and get ready for second half.
Kelly, yeah, there we go, man. We'll be right back. We're down here at Maggie O's. Catch you after the break.
Blurry face and I care what you think. Wish we could turn back time.
The term staycation was really invented by soccer moms. Located 1 hour and 7 minutes from the Arch, the Music Box Chalet at Innsbruck is a hidden gem. Buried in 3 acres of private woods, the Music Box has a master suite for just you, a loft and second bath for them, and a vinyl collection to meet your every mood. The full-size kitchen will easily accommodate 3 to 12 bottles of rosé, while the huge fire pit seating area will keep the big kids busy. Golf, fishing, kayaking, pickleball, or simply reading a book with Mother Nature, all at your fingertips. Visit either VRBO or Airbnb to find the Music Box Chalet. And now, back to those guys.
No.
Red lights on. Here we go.
Yep, this is my speed.
You like this one, don't you?
You know I do.
Yeah.
I've been listening to this dude a lot lately.
Have you been?
What's his name?
Ryan Bingham.
He's the guy from
I think
the
he's
show I
playing
never
in
watched.
Kate this weekend.
Yellowstone.
I never got into that show. I never did.
Is it true
It's
that Kevin
because-
Costner's not coming back and it's
I hear it's a big old standoff.
okay.
I mean, give him whatever he wants, right? If he
I
wants,
think at this point you kind of have to, don't you?
And you're talking about what, the series finale, right? Or the final season.
Just
Yeah.
kill them off.
You gotta
Well, yeah, that's what they're going to have to do, I would think. I mean, they'll do something.
yeah, he'll be back. Because it's all
we'll
about
see.
the daughter.
We're gonna get into the next phase of the career and the end of the Wisconsin days. I first want to recognize you're the defensive player of the year in 2013 at Wisconsin, and the question that's been killing me just following your career, being a fan of yours, is you go into Houston and you have a ton of success, and you mentioned Dominic Kinnear as your coach. I want to know how it affected you mentally when the coaching change happened and going into year 2, being confident as hell, coming off training with Fulham, which I don't know if our listeners know. He went trained with Fulham. And I don't think you got a fair shake.
Yeah, that is the point of like my MLS career that that hurts me the most is the biggest thing that I can say about being a professional, and not even being a professional, college, high school, is timing. Okay, so give a little background. Rookie year did really well. I think I played more than 25 games.
A ton for a rookie.
Yeah, for a rookie.
That's crazy.
You're flying high.
Flying high. I think I was top 5 rookie in the year, like rookies in the MLS that year in terms of minutes played, playing well. Dom and I got a good relationship, gave me an opportunity as a rookie, which, thank you so much for, because like a lot of guys don't get that opportunity.
No, they don't.
And that is an enormous thing as well as players getting opportunities. I could go on all day about that. But so to go back to your point, got to go over to Fulham, and I'm just like, in my opinion, playing the best soccer my entire life at Fulham. And come back, and I hear, Dom goes to San Jose, and I was like, okay, like that's unfortunate, but he's had an incredible run at Houston. He going back home to San Jose. And I hear we got an English coach coming in, Owen Coyle. I'm like, okay, this guy's English coach. Like, Dom was a little more kind of like Terry Mickler, like, hey, no bullshit. Like, we're going to score goals. Like, not a super possession-based style coach. A little more old school. And I kind of like to keep the ball a little more. That was kind of my Tom Howe. So I was like, this English coach is coming in, and he's going to love me. Okay? So come in, first like preseason trip, we go down to Tucson. Played the first half, and I started the last 5 games of my rookie year. So I'm like, I'm coming in, like I'm going to be battling.
I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Confidence high, and I thought I'd play a pretty damn good first half. And the next 4 preseason games, I don't get a minute, and I'm like, whoa, like what's going on here? My opportunity, like blah blah blah, and
you're probably pissed at this point.
Pissed, but I'm like, all right, like I'm talking to my dad, I'm talking to my agent, I'm like. Wait. Well, I kept waiting, and we weren't very good that year. So I kept waiting for an opportunity, Never really came. And kind of funny, it did come one game, and he played me at left back against LA Galaxy, which was Gerard and I don't even know who else they had on the team at that point. But and we win 3-0. Playing left back. First time I played left back since before high school. Okay. And I'm like, I think I called my dad while I'm in the locker room getting ready for this game. I'm like, what's this guy doing? Playing me at left back. I finally get my opportunity. Like, why isn't he playing me at center back? Blah, blah, blah. Go out, win 3-0. Well, next game we play Real Salt Lake. Starts me at left back, and I did not play well. Never saw the field again after that, okay? But it was it hurt, it hurt. It hurt hard.
In our game, and I want to know from an organization standpoint, and I know you had a good support system with your dad and playing the game and other people, but there's so much on the mental side. And for you to have the career you had after getting kicked in the pills like that, I just, did you have anybody mentally helping you through that time other than your family?
My dad. I mean, 100% every day. So, got to credit my mom's amazing, but my dad called him every day for my 10-year career. He was my therapist, you name it, okay? When things were high, my fan, okay? My dad was the man. I mean, my therapist when they were low, and over a 10-year career, it's a roller coaster. Yeah. So, got to give so much credit to my dad. I'm super blessed to have him. Now, to go back to the Owen Coyle thing, because I've thought about this a lot. And now that I'm retired, I have a better perspective on it. Okay. So let me throw this ball back in your court.
Okay.
So you're the head coach of an MLS team. You get your first job. Okay. Say it's a 2-year deal. Are you going to take a chance on young players? Or are you going to play your veterans, knowing that if you start slow, if you don't have a good,
do I have to win right away?
Say it again.
Do I have to win right away?
Right away. Like, first year. So that's my big thing. That's my big thing.
Yeah.
And this goes into the opportunities that I was talking about, where these coaches are under so much pressure so early that if they don't get results and their team's not doing good, they're getting fired.
Yep.
Right. So,
that's real money.
And that's
real
money.
Institutional cost.
So it's looking back, I'm like, why is this guy not giving me like a true opportunity, a true shot, to earn that spot?
It wasn't personal.
It wasn't personal. It was him looking at David Horst, Jermaine Taylor, going, these guys got 100-plus games in the MLS. I got to win early. I got to see, I got to go with the guys that have more experience than me. So looking back on it, Owen Coyle was a great guy. He was great in the locker room. I wasn't a huge fan of him as a coach, personally, just in terms of his tactics and his training
Neither was
sessions.
Houston.
Yeah, neither was Houston. I'll be curious. I'll be curious to see what your guest in the future says about it, because it's interesting. Like, this guy was like 50 years old. His assistant was Sandy Stewart. Okay, great guys. So I'm not knocking their character, because they were amazing guys, but they would train every day. So these guys were training 6v6s, okay, playing with us pros.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, like if you're a new, if you're a bumper or something like that, like no problem. But like, we were doing relay races before games. It was just strange.
Yeah. So let me ask your mindset at that point, because you were so cognizant of making the decision coming out of high school when you went to Wisconsin. You just alluded to it, kind of that strategic decision-making process for your path. Now you're in the pros. Mm-hmm. So there's not real, there's different teams, different opportunities, but you're getting paid to play at that point. Mm-hmm. You're kind of at the top, a degree of the top. Mm-hmm. How do you adjust out of that situation? Because you're also in a situation where you don't have a lot of you don't own the joystick anymore. You're part of the game. How did you mentally adjust coming out of that experience into continuing to play?
Man, the easy answer to that is that I just kept going. I called my agent after that year, and I was like, get me out of Houston. I got plenty of games for 2 years. Get me onto an MLS team, blah, blah, blah. And it's not that easy. So, like, I go on trial with Red Bulls, and it's myself and Aaron Long and two other guys fighting for a center back spot. And Aaron Long was with them before, and I played terrible over those 7 to 10 days. So I get let go, and then I go to Colorado for three weeks, and I'm playing really well. Score a nice game-winning goal. I'm like, this guy's signing me. Like Pablo Mastroeni, like, really liked me.
Worst hair ever in men's national team history.
You would know better than me. But I was like,
I was going to say Landon Donovan.
I'm trying to think.
Not good.
Man, I don't know. But, long story short, they end up signing Jermaine Jones, and I get the boot. And I was like, okay, like, what am I going to do now? Well, I go back to Jeremy Allenball, okay, gave me a shot with St. Louis. I'm like, I'm going to go home. I'll go home, be with my friends and my family that I haven't seen in 6 years, play in front of them, and because at the time there was whispers, maybe the MLS is coming to St. Louis, like have 2 good years here, maybe the St. Louis team comes and I can jump straight into that. Our first year,
Dream come true.
Yeah, dream come true, and it was, the 2 years were interesting. First year was great, loved the locker room. Was a fan of Dale, loved Jeremy. Tim Leonard was assistant coach. We had Mr. Caruso. It was great. We just couldn't score. Yeah. Okay, that was kind of the bottom line. Second year, Preki comes in, okay? And
wacko.
Man, just once again.
We've heard.
Once again, character-wise, like in terms of like, I don't know him as a father, right? I knew his son, and his son was great, okay? So I don't know him out of the business side of soccer, but I couldn't stand the guy. Could not stand. He just was not my cup of tea, not my style of coach. Would never play for him ever again.
Sounds like he is multiple personalities.
Well, Sam Fink told a story about the first day of preseason.
Yeah, he cleaned his kid, and then he proceeded to eat
I remember that. And Sam was in the doghouse from that point on.
Yeah, and he left.
And by the way, Jeremy Allenball told me on the side, which is the highest of highest compliments, defensively, he'd take you and Sam as a pair over anybody.
Man, we were good together. We were very similar players, which a lot of coaches don't like, right? They're like, oh, well, if you got, a big, strong kid in the air that maybe isn't, the quickest in the turn, maybe we pair him with, someone that's just lightning. And Sam and I did really well together. My best center back pairings of my career were, guys that were a little like myself, maybe a little more technical sound on the ball, but not crazy athletic guys. I loved playing with Sam. But to go back to your original question, sorry for going off path a little bit, but it was just...
That's what we do.
My dad was a huge thing, and I just kept going, I just, looking for opportunities. But St. Louis was a point where I was like, am I retiring after my second year? I was so fed up with the game, how the past 3 years went. I was so mentally exhausted. I was partying too much, you name it. I was like, dude, I'm done. And my dad was like, you got to keep going. You got to give it one more opportunity. You got to give it one more opportunity. You got to leave. And I'm like, I'm leaving my friends, my family. I'm like, where am I going to go?
So you have 6 more years after this, correct?
That's 6 more years after this.
Wow. Go ahead, Zach.
No, I want you to pick up where you just left off. Finish that story, because I really want to get into and kind of finish this off with your final years, because there's a thread here that I really want to pull on.
Okay.
But I want you to walk through the next 3 to 4 years before you get to Charleston.
I'll do it.
And then I have a follow-up question to that.
Sounds good. I'll do it quickly. Now, Atlanta, I got an opportunity to go to Atlanta and play for their second team. It was their first year for Atlanta, too. And I was, like, making no money. I didn't have an apartment, so, like, I was basically making nothing. Everything that I made in Houston and saved a little bit of, in St. Louis, like, I was spending it just on rent and food. Shout out to Mikey Ambrose, who was my roommate, who was on the first team. He was a great guy. But that opportunity, that risk that I took to go down to Atlanta 2 and play for an MLS 2 team was the greatest decision that I ever made in my career.
Really?
Was taking to not quitting, to taking that risk of moving away from my family and friends again for no money, basically, to have an opportunity to train with an MLS team. Was the best decision I made in my career. And it led to me training with the first team 2-3 times a week, playing against Joseph Martinez, Miguel Almiron, like these guys, Parkhurst, Nagby, Jeff Lernowitz.
That team was pretty good.
The team was stacked.
Yeah,
and
that team was good. That was one of our big MLS teams.
Mm-hmm. And Tata loved bringing guys up from the second team to play against them on Tuesday and Wednesdays, and the team that they were playing's formation, and played like 33 or 34 games and for the second team, and got to train with kind of go on trial with the first team at the end of the season, and it just didn't work out. But
So let's talk a little bit about that roller coaster then, and kind of how you viewed it, because I'm sure there was a lot of reflection outside of your conversations with your dad or peers. Because again, you're coming out of Wisconsin on a super high. You get this. You go to Fulham.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's clicking for you,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's not.
Yeah.
And then you come home and you're approaching and considering and contemplating the finish line at that point. Oh, then you keep on running, and now you hit another uphill, and and you're picking up momentum, enthusiasm, probably, passion again. Because it sounds as if that also was kind of the ebbs and flows of that. Were you cognizant of all that going on in real time? Like, were you trying to find a way to love the game, have fun, keep it passionate, or at any point in that process was it a job? Was it a grind first, and then hopefully I get to have fun playing soccer?
I'd say the year with Preki was the biggest grind. I always had confidence in myself, and I think that's why I was able to keep going, because I had another letdown at the end of Atlanta where I didn't get signed to the first team. Okay, and a little side note, I got to play next to Miles Robinson for 32 games that year or something like that for the second team. Okay, so Aaron Long and I were competing, Miles Robinson and I were competing, and I kept missing it, right? Kept missing it. So Atlanta, they didn't think I was good enough for the first team, but I didn't quit. And I still believe that I was just playing against the best team in the MLS. I was playing against Joseph Martinez, I still got it in me. And sure enough, Phoenix gave me an opportunity, and I just kept going. And I had a lot of belief in myself that I still had it, and there were still opportunities out there for me.
Well, let me just simplify my question, and I'm going to ask the same question again, only way simpler. Were you having fun? Were you still having fun going through that process and what you were experiencing?
Yes, I was. Mainly because I've always been a huge locker room guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I always loved going golfing, going out for beers with the guys, getting food after training. So soccer was a therapy for me, when things weren't going well. When you're between those lines, everything else doesn't matter. I was just there to train and win. And whatever drill I was in, just try to be the best I could be. And when outside of soccer, I tried to have fun, to blow off steam. And, You know, and that's why I was, I did have fun, and yeah.
So I'm thinking about your career, and aside from junior and senior year at Wisconsin, did you ever have a stop where, like, going into the next year, you're like, I have my spot? Like, think about this. Like, did you ever have, like, okay, I'm the left center back, or I'm the starting center back? Because did you have to go in every camp and just compete and win your fucking spot?
Every fucking year. 10 years as a pro, I think I had 9 head coaches.
Wow.
Okay. I think in terms of like interim coaches as well, like I think I had 9 head coaches. So to answer your question, never. My closest one was going into my second year in Phoenix.
Okay.
And I think, I don't want to get this wrong, but I think that's when they signed Corey Whelan, who was coming from Liverpool's academy, who was a center back. And I'm like, okay, well,
Here we go again.
here we go again. They have Mitch Tainer on as a trialist. I'm like, here we go again, And that was maybe the only time up to that point. It was the only time up to that point where I had the same coach going into my second year, and that was year 6 for me. So the first 5 years, I had a new coach each year.
So let me throw a curveball question at you then a little bit. Let's bring everybody up to speed here. Team count. Post Wisconsin, how many teams did you play with?
I think 6. 6, yeah. 6 over 10 years.
So you have 6 over 10 years.
Yep.
You've got your years in Wisconsin. You've got your CBC state champ days. You've got Busch early and Gallagher, next step. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if you were to project out, which team do you miss the most?
Phoenix.
Really?
In a heartbeat.
You did.
You were the closest?
Phoenix.
That was a very, very. You were staring me in the eye there.
It's very quick.
Phoenix first, Charleston second. Now, my first year in St. Louis was incredible. My most memorable year was probably my first. Well, I shouldn't say my most. Yeah, maybe my most memorable is my first year in Houston because I finally accomplished my dream. That I was trying for 18 years, 20 years.
Is there an elephant in the room? Because we have to bring it up. I mean,
go for
it. A top moment for anybody's soccer career when you're in Houston. Who do you get to play a friendly against?
Yeah, got to train with them.
Got to train with them?
Got to train with them, yeah.
So tell the story. And there's a picture on the internet to prove it.
Yeah, so that second year in Houston was a nightmare besides this. For me, it was a nightmare. But they said that Argentina was coming down for a friendly and that, Messi might be there. That's literally what they said. Messi might be there, but they need 5 young guys to come train with them. They want, some bodies for this. And I was like, okay, they're telling us this. I'm like, absolutely. They had some academy guys. Absolutely. And sure enough, we get out there. J.J. Watt, walks through the locker room to come watch, the training session. And he was a Badger. So it was like, okay, he's got to be coming, right? Messi's got to be coming. Well, everyone gets off the bus, and Messi isn't one of them. And then, 10 seconds later, he comes
But
Messi.
who are the other guys on the bus?
Tevez, Mascherano,
Higuain,
Rojo, Higuain.
Di Maria.
It was Di Maria. It was stacked.
And you were like, let's go beer bong, motherfuckers. I got you.
I beat
You're
you guys
not
at
a
that.
badger.
Yeah, I beat you guys at that. I got to
So
train
you
with
talk
Messi
about
for a day.
So you talk about
great.
10 years worth of daily calls to your dad. When after you're getting ready for bed that night, and those guys were just on the field with you, what's that
Well,
conversation like?
the main guy, he's about to tell you, he was on the field.
Yeah, he trained with Messi. He just said that.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so when you call your dad that day, what do you tell him? Like, oh, I was at work today, and by the way,
Well, I
Some
told-
little
you know,
5'6" guy from Argentina stopped by, kick it around a little bit.
he kissed my elbow.
told him leading up to it, that he might be there, and then I call him, and he was just like, that's amazing. I didn't really realize, how major of a situation and a memory it would be for me, and obviously, he's my undisputed GOAT, probably because I trained with
That's
him, but
right.
also,
Because
you
he
win,
just flat out
you
is.
win the World Cup. He's got my vote all day, so that was, that's top two.
Well,
So I want to get to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know we got to shut this down here soon. Unfortunately, because I've really enjoyed this conversation. The thread that I want to kind of weave back together, and you illustrated it very well. I think your whole career had a St. Louis element in almost every team.
Yeah, including Wisconsin.
because the assistant coach.
Well, and Mark Segbers, Tommy
Yeah.
Barlow,
Marky.
Oh my God!
Nick Jones, Brian Hale.
But
got them all
until
there. Yeah.
really, you had that until you went to Atlanta,
Yes.
and that was the most defining moment of your career. Do you think there's any tell there about getting outside of the comfort of people you know, or at least the culture you know, to help you grow?
Absolutely. And it did the same in Charleston, too.
Yeah.
Devin Rensing was there, but Mark Segbers wasn't there when I first did it. But to answer your question about Atlanta, yes. And give a little shout out to Patrick Schulte. He was the only St. Louis guy that I saw when I was down there. He came down there to train when he was training with SLU. But yeah, getting out of my comfort zone there, and it maybe it just turned my notches even more on just training and trying to make it. And I don't know. It's it's a good question.
I love it, and I think I just want to give you an opportunity to kind of to close this thing out with just a little bit of your time at Charleston.
Yeah.
The last season was pretty magical.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, ended not so perfectly, but you got another couple of St. Louis guys. You had Brian Jones.
Oh, yeah,
Segbers,
Brian. Jeez, how could I forget Brian?
Devin.
Yeah.
So just kind of close this out, maybe, unless there's a couple final questions from
No,
JB.
go ahead.
I don't
or
have any
Jared.
final questions, but I got some parting words. But go ahead.
Yeah, Charleston was incredible. I went down there from Indy to in my career. I knew it was going to be my last season, and it was a whirlwind of emotions. I thought I was going down there, and I thought I was going to start and play. They were not good that year before. They brought back the two center backs that were the year before. I'm like, I'm going down here and I'm starting, and really didn't get that opportunity. That's the only thing that I will say about that year. I don't think I played 2 games back-to-back the entire year, but I had to take on a different role, which I'd never really had to take on, especially as an older player. I got to play, a lot of minutes for a lot of the teams I played for. Besides my second year in Houston and the year in Charleston, I got to play a lot. So I'm very grateful for that. But I had to take on a role of a leader in the locker room and bring it into training every day, and it was super fulfilling at the end of the day.
Love that.
Now, my dad kept me sane because I wanted to go in there a couple times and, be like I'm,
Flip the desk over.
dude, 100%, like multiple times. But I
Go
bit
ahead,
my
JB.
tongue. I bit my tongue and trained hard, and it was so rewarding. I got to end my career on a trophy, and, have nothing great things to say about the coaching staff there and the players I played with there. It was a phenomenal experience.
Was it ironic that it also ended against Phoenix?
Yeah, for sure. A little bit. That was just written in the stars because
Oh my
we
gosh.
deserved to win it my second year when COVID hit and whatnot. That's a whole nother story. If you guys are generous to have me back on, I'll tell you that story, which is
Let me ask a closing question here. Now that you're at the end of the line, you're home, you're working, and we have MLS here.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up, at iconic institutions, iconic coaches. You had an incredible career. What does St. Louis soccer mean to you?
Everything, and I'm gonna be getting back into a little bit of coaching here, probably pretty shortly because it's defined my life.
Yeah.
Up to this point, until 30, it's been my best friends in the entire world. Now I have great friends not outside of soccer, but I have, the relationships that I've built from the game in St. Louis, growing up. It's everything. It's from a kid to my mentality, learning about myself, my relationship with my friends, my teammates, my parents. The game of soccer in St. Louis is special on so many different levels, and I'm so grateful, that I got to play it here in this amazing city. It's
awesome.
My parting words is thank you, and we have a lot of mutual friends and coaches and acquaintances. And what I will say is this: for your mom and dad and you, after your impressive long career, the best thing that you can say is everybody that I've talked to are ecstatic about you and the man that you are. So kudos to you, man, and
Thank you
kudos to
very
your
much.
parents. What an awesome job.
Thank you very much.
Well
Thank
said.
you.
Well, dude, appreciate your time. Yeah, I don't know.
Man, I had an absolute
we're
blast.
gonna do this again.
Please.
You're kind of a natural on the mic. Have you thought about broadcast booth post career here?
I've thought about a whole bunch of different things. I'm not giving up soccer. I promise you that. I'm going to stay in it somehow.
You're not married, right?
I am.
You
I
are
am.
married.
Yep.
Kids?
My
Do you have
beautiful
kids?
wife, Danny. Not yet. Not yet.
No kids. Do you have pets?
Yes.
Okay, so technically you're dad. You could be a guest host on Soccer Dad. You want to come and join us, man? Open invite, dude.
If you guys give me a call, I promise you that I will be here. I had an absolute blast.
You also got a
guys are
pretty
great.
tall left-footed center back in your household.
I think there might be a mentor on the mic here.
Let me know.
Are you-
Steve. I'll
for
go out there
hire?
and kick it around.
I'll
Oh,
buy
yeah.
you beers.
Deal.
Hey man, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you,
We're
guys.
gonna keep close. We're gonna keep you around the show here,
Please.
for
Had an absolute
months
blast.
to come, man. So looking forward to that. You two jokers, appreciate your camaraderie yet again, and thank you, Jason Glover, for the phone in Pinnacle Point of the Day.
I think Jason. I think Mr. Glover could do better. Is mediocre at best.
Well, if he made it this far, he might be texting you. All right, thank you, Maggie O'Brien's, Explorer St. Louis, Crescent Plumbing Supply, and thepinnacleloans.com. We're out of here. Gonna roll you out with a little Zach Bryan. Catch you guys next time.
Later.
There's delays on the plains out of eastern Montana where you told me you were leaving from.